good, you guys? Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. Y'all, we're coming off the Canelo and the Jaime Munguia fight. There's a lot of people out there with scorecards. There's a lot of people out there with different perspectives and different opinions on this fight. First of all, can I just start off by saying props to Jaime Munguia? I mean, and look, I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now. I apologize to Jaime Munguia. I apologize to Jaime Munguia's team and fan base. I looked at one of his recent fights and thought he was gonna stand in the pocket with Canelo all night, and he didn't do that. He moved in, he moved out. One thing I will say about Munguia that I did like is that early on he started with that jab, and that's something that Floyd Mayweather. That's something that Dimitri Bivol did in the fight that helped him escalate to a victory, which Mario has also said in the past too. If you got a nice jab, then you can make it a real tough fight for Canelo. That's exactly why, the first 3 rounds, Munguia was looking so good because he was able to keep Canelo at the end of that jab. Now, before I pass it to Mario, I want to say this right quick, right? Unanimous decision is nasty work, if you ask me. I don't think it was. Look, I had it personally, in my opinion. Y'all can call me crazy. It's whatever. It's fine. I take it on the chin. I had it Munguia 7-5. I felt like, even with the one knockdown, I felt like Munguia had real moments in that fight where he was hurt Canelo and he was back at Canelo up. And look, before people get on about the commentators, this is why I tell y'all, when I watch these fights, I turn commentary off. I watch the fight based off of how I see it, because if you listen to the commentary, it's going to be trying to push a certain agenda. It's going to be trying to push a certain narrative. That's why I tell people in big fights, turn off the commentary. Turn all that off and watch the fight for yourself. But other than that, though, I had a 7-5 Munguia. Some people saying Canelo won. That's fine, whatever, cool. I'm not mad at it. But to make it seem like Canelo went in there and just 8-2'd him or something like that, or just it's crazy to me. I don't think it was a very dominant performance. And I'm not here to take credit away from Canelo. I mean, congrats on your victory, Canelo. But I don't understand why people try and make it seem like Canelo went in there and just dominated every single round. But I want to pass it to you, Mario. What was your thoughts on this fight?
I had it a draw. I'm not gonna lie. Look, y'all could say we don't know anything about boxing. Y'all could say that we're tripping. Y'all could say all the things you want. You guys can talk about how you guys know boxing more than us and how we shouldn't even be credible. Okay, here's what I want you to do. First of all, do exactly what Breezy said and watch the fight without commentary. That's number one. Okay, because I'm gonna tell you this right now, and I think we can all agree because I've seen the comments on the Day Zone page. That commentary, that's glazing at its finest, right there. Even when they were describing what Canelo Alvarez was doing in the highlights, it showed Jaime Munguia backing him up, and they're like, "Look at that uppercut that Canelo threw that he was trying to land. He didn't land it. What are you talking about? You're showing him missing the uppercut. Like, well, like this gotta stop. Look, I know Canelo is DAZN's golden boy. I know that PBC had a good run with him, but let's not come in here and act like Jaime Munguia got dog walked. Okay, I understand the Floyd Mayweather Canelo Alvarez fight when everybody said Canelo got beat. But even then, he had a 114-114 draw. You're gonna tell me that this fight was really a 117-110? I don't believe that. And look, I'm gonna say this right now, and Breezy knows I like Canelo. We've talked about this many times. We have different opinions, different views on Canelo. I like Canelo. But don't sit here and tell me that that's a 117, 110, a 116, 111, and 8 rounds to 2. How many Munguia won the first 3 rounds? What are you talking about? Literally, okay? Let's not act like Jaime Munguia wasn't backing up Canelo with a jab. And let's not act like he didn't have Canelo on those ropes. Now, I understand why some people might have Canelo winning that fight. I'll say this. What I think Canelo did a very good job of is basically getting Jaime Munguia off of him when it seemed like things were going to get too wild, okay? Say what you want, but Canelo's always going to have that power. A lot of people are saying he's not the same defensive fighter that he used to be. He may not be as quick. He might not have the same timing that he used to, but Canelo's always going to have that power. It was 3-0, in my opinion, until Canelo floored him in the fourth. And then Jaime Munguia got up, took it on the chin like a champ, and continued going forward and got the UD. And he didn't back up like Jermell Charlo did. He didn't take the beatings like everybody else did. No, he came forward and he said, "Look, if I'm a fight, I'm a fight coming forward." He said, "If I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna lose coming forward." And it's exactly why I got a lot of respect for Jaime Munguia. And I'm gonna say this right now: the future is bright for that kid. The future is bright for that kid. That is going to be his career changing moment right there. But I'm gonna say it right now: that fight wasn't as lopsided as y'all think it is. Now, look, maybe we're wrong. Maybe I gotta go back and watch the fight, and maybe I might have a different opinion. But I'm gonna be honest, from what I've seen live, I don't think I can sit here and tell you that that was a dog walk. Okay, I can't. You can't tell me that Jaime Munguia wasn't backing him up against the ropes. You can't tell me that that jab wasn't connecting. And all the times Canelo clipped him on the jaw or hit him in the body, that's cool. Let's talk about how many times Jaime Munguia did it as well. Let's talk about when Jaime Munguia would come up top and go down to the body. Let's talk about how Jaime Munguia would have 3 punch combinations that would actually hit. And what was Canelo doing? Putting his hands up. He had a little bit of head movement, but I mean to sit here and think that Canelo Alvarez was putting a Floyd Mayweather defensive performance on him is crazy. I'm sorry, that just didn't happen. Okay. So you know what? Y'all can hate all you like. Y'all can and again, I would like to see these comments. Honestly. I would love to see these comments. Type it up. But I'm gonna say this right now. I truly believe Jaime Munguia had a way closer fight than people think. Okay. And I think a lot of y'all need to go back, watch that fight without the commentary. And I'm not talking about the highlights. I'm talking about the fight. Go back and watch it because we know how those DAZN highlight packages be. You might as well turn it into a Canelo mixtape like it's and one because this is ridiculous, man. All I'm gonna say is if we're gonna watch that fight, then we gotta watch it based off of the perspective of no commentary, and I think you gotta watch it based off of what was going on. Maybe Canelo Alvarez did have a counter punch battle with him, and maybe Canelo Alvarez did win. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna rewatch it, okay? Because I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. I'll go back and I'll rewatch that fight, but I'm gonna say this right now: this fight was closer than a lot of people think, and for the judges to have it 117, 110, 116, 111. 115, 112 was the closest one. That one, I mean, I could kind of see that. Other than that, I don't know what y'all were looking at. So here's what I will say. We're doing this new thing on the Puncher's Point for season 3 where we're grading fights. This would be the game plan um aspect of it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Breezy, how would you rate the game plan from both these fighters? I want like an individual grade in itself. How do you feel both these fighters did if you had to give one grade?
I would give him low key a B because I have not seen anybody that was, and I'm gonna be real with you because I was actually underestimating him. For somebody that got underestimated like Jaime Munguia, he really brought it to Canelo. And the thing about it is, he was keeping that jab on him, which a lot of fighters typically didn't do or couldn't do. I just feel like that it was times where it's like he kind of got gassed, and the pressure started rolling on him, and he had to deal with Canelo's counterpunching. So I low key would give it like low key a B. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, if we're doing it from that format, I give it a 8, low key a 8. Because like you mentioned earlier, Jermell Charlo, you know, even when he was fighting Canelo, you could tell he was just in there to basically survive. McGill was like, look, we can bang it out right now. You know what I mean? And he brought that pressure to Canelo and kept that jab on him in moments and even rocking him. And how many fighters do you see that rock Canelo? So the fact that he was pushing the jab and even backing him up at times and even rocking him, I give Munguia a 8. Canelo, I say this right. I low key I can give him a B too because his IQ, and you can tell he learned from that Floyd Mayweather fight. Reason why I say that is because of the counter punching skills. The way Canelo was counter punching him, it was it worked because at times you could see where McGill he was still throwing that jab, he was still throwing that jab, he was still hitting him and backing him up and whatnot, but at the same time, he was a little bit hesitant. The overall grade I give this fight, literally a 9. Honestly, it was very entertaining, very action packed. Literally, bro, props to both of them. And I'm not too crazy about Canelo, but man, look, props to Canelo for putting on an entertaining fight, and props to Mike Gill for putting on an entertaining fight. I just feel like the decision was kind of a little bit, over the top though.
As far as game plan, I I'll say I'll give it an 8. I'll say I'll give it an 8. Yeah, I'll stick with that. I'll give it an 8 for both because I feel like Jaime Munguia, like you said, did a great job of pushing the pressure. We talked about how he needed to throw his punches and bunches, and he needed to bring the fight forward. But at the same time, I think we also got to give Canelo an 8 because Canelo was able to adjust to the first 3 rounds, and I think Canelo was able to make it a very competitive fight towards the end. And I completely agree with you. If there's one thing I'm going to point to with Jaime Munguia, there were times where the defense could have been a little bit better. He did a lot better at head movement. I feel like it could be. I feel like with a little bit of practice, he could definitely become more defensive, but as far as Jaime Munguia, I would say that stamina is the thing that cost him. But even with low stamina, he was still coming forward. He was still throwing his punches and bunches. It's not like he was just brutally missing. No, he was connecting on Canelo. Go back and watch it. He was connecting on Canelo. Okay, there's only so many times you can hit somebody in the face. Okay, while they're covering it up. But regardless, if you're looking at the punches that connected to Canelo's skin and the punches that connected to Canelo's arms, the body, the punches that we give Canelo when he punches people to the arms, Jaime Munguia was connecting. It took one punch from Canelo Alvarez to back him up every single time. So overall, I give it an 8. Now, as far as hype, that's the second one. The hype for this fight wasn't really that big. I'm gonna say that right now. Before this fight, there wasn't a lot of hype. Do you feel like this fight lived up or exceeded that hype? And if you had to give it an overall 1 to 10, what would you give that, Breezy?
Hype for this fight was literally a 6 because a lot of people they felt like Jaime Munguia didn't earn the position to be fighting Canelo, and a lot of people felt that Canelo, should have been fighting. Well, hell, we all felt that Canelo should have been fighting David Benavidez instead of Jaime Munguia. So the hype around the fight, I say it was about a 6. Nobody really cared about it. Nobody really talked about it. The fight wasn't really being promoted like that, aside from the press conference where him and Oscar De La Hoya went at it. That really wasn't too much to it. But see, I say this though. The hype after the fight, I will say this. It did live up to it because guess what? Now you got a potential new champion on the way. You got a potential bigger star in Jaime Munguia on the way. And not only that, but a lot of people are going to tune in now to Jaime Munguia. It's kind of like the thing with Canelo. When he lost to Floyd, people tuned into Canelo more after that. And I think this is all it is with Munguia. Even though he lost, he still won in advance because guess what? A lot of people got respect for Munguia. A lot of people going to tune into Munguia. A lot of people are looking to see what he do next because how he looked against somebody like Canelo. So the hype for this fight is extremely high. And if you ask me to give it on the scale, I give it about 9.
I like the enthusiasm. I'm gonna go a little bit lower. I think I'll give it about like a 7.5. I'll give it about a 7.5, only for the sole purpose of not many people thought that Jaime Munguia was going to put up a fight, and he did. I'll give it a 7.5 because as far as hype after, I do think that this is definitely going to help Jaime Munguia's career. This might be Munguia's Floyd Mayweather fight that Canelo had, where it just shifts him as a fighter, but only time is going to tell with Jaime Munguia. Canelo is a very special fighter, and Jaime Munguia is really good, but we're not going to know if he's special until a long time from now. So I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think as far as Canelo, obviously, with people still wanting the Benavidez fight, I don't think that the hype for this fight was extremely high before the fight. And I think after the fight, I don't think the hype is that much high. So I'm going to go 7.5 just for the sole purpose of as far as looking at this fight now and being like, oh yeah, I'm excited to see what Canelo's next move is. I'm excited to see Jaime Munguia continue. I'll give it a 7.5. I think Jaime Munguia made a lot of fans today. I think Canelo Alvarez, definitely showed his veteranship and leadership, I should say. Excuse me, that didn't come out right, but I think as far as veteranship, as far as experience, I think that Canelo definitely showed that. So I'm gonna go 7.5. So if you combine those scores, that's a 7.7 right there. Now, 2 more categories to go. Impact and stakes. You know what? We're gonna start off with the stakes to this fight. We're gonna start off with the stakes. All right. Now, as far as what this fight, the stakes to it, and what was on the line, and as far as how this fight was going to affect boxing, and then what happened after. The stakes, I'm gonna say this because it's for the undisputed championship. I think that automatically puts it at a 7, but I think that's as far as it's gonna go because after that, I mean, what else is there? I mean, some people could put it at a 7.5 because Jaime Munguia was undefeated, but even that is not really high stakes. The high stakes is for the undisputed championship. It's not a situation where two fighters are holding belts and they're combining these belts. It's not a fight where you're getting the best versus the best. No, you're getting the best versus an up and coming good fighter. So maybe in the future we're gonna look back at this fight and it will be a legendary fight. But as of right now, Breezy, as far as stakes, I gotta give it a 7. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like there's definitely fights out there, especially in this division, that have higher stakes, and I just think this one wasn't part of it. And after the fight, I still don't think that it makes the stakes any more higher. You might disagree with me though, Breezy. Maybe you agree. Let's hear it.
I agree, because like I said, Tommy Munguia, we didn't really knew about him too much and we fought besides maybe Derenchenko, but he was another up and coming guy that had been tested, especially under those big lights like that. And I feel like with him, he wasn't really considered a best, but he was more so considered of a talent that has yet to get in there with a bigger name. And I feel like, this just one of those kind of best fight, the best type fights. So I actually agree with you with that.
And then last but not least, impact. Let's be honest, this doesn't have a big impact on boxing. It really doesn't. There's nothing that we could look at and say this is impactful. Maybe for like Jaime Munguia's future, but even that is undetermined right now. So I'm gonna be honest, Breezy. I gotta give Impact maybe a 5 because I don't think this had a big impact on boxing. Unless you're looking at it in a sense of, well, after this fight, it looks like Canelo's definitely past his prime, but even that is not really like an impact. I'm gonna go 5, man. I just don't think that this fight had a big impact. If it was close, I would say the impact was bigger, and obviously we have it as close. But as far as everybody else in the universe, I guess we were watching a different fight than them because according to them, it's a sparring session. So I'm gonna go 5. I don't think a lot happens after this fight. I think everything basically stays the same. Jaime Munguia goes back to fighting good fighters. I think it's gonna be a decent amount of time before he gets a great fighter. As far as Canelo Alvarez, we still want to see David Benavidez. It's not like this fight halted that hype for that fight. It's not like this fight shifted it towards a different direction. So I'm gonna give it a 5.
You hit it right on the nail. I mean, literally the only person that could really impact out of this fight is really Jaime Munguia. A lot of people are going to say Canelo is already established. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's then fought this name after that name, that name. So Canelo doesn't really benefit or gain from fighting Munguia. But as if he fights Benavidez, that's where, that's where he goes for a bigger leap to legacy, and that's where tends to he tends to start make a huge impact on boxing. But as far as that, you hit it right on the nail. There's really no impact aside from maybe Munguia. So I'll say I give it a 6.
All right. So with that being said, when you do the math, I mean, if we're really talking about doing the math, 8 plus 7.7 for us being in the middle, plus I would say 7 plus 5.5, 28.2 out of 40. That's where we are going to have the first rated fight for the Puncher's Point. 28.2 out of 40, which isn't bad. Obviously, I expect us to have better fights. I expect us to have greater fights and greater ratings on there. So, yeah, 28.2 out of 40 is a score of 70.5%. So, not bad, 70.5 out of 100 if you would really kind of put it through that scale. So, overall, you're giving this a 70. So, not bad. We expect a lot better come with the rest of these fights, obviously. And again, as far as boxing, we know what we want to see next. Canelo versus Benavidez. I'm not gonna lie. Is it gonna happen? No, most likely Canelo's gonna go up against Edgar Berlanga next because that was part of the deal. But as far as Jaime Munguia, I would love to see him fight guys like David Morrell. I would love to see him fight those up and comers coming up, Christian Mabili. That would be another great fight. I think that Jaime Munguia still needs to chase greatness. I think that he needs to kind of take that Canelo route after Canelo lost to Floyd and start fighting those really good fighters and building his name back up. And I think that's what he's gonna do. I like that he took his loss like a man. He didn't go and complain. He didn't rant, nothing like that. He made it quick, simple. I lost, wasn't my night, and I'm gonna bounce back. Respect to Hami Mungia. With that being said, again, this is our second episode of the Puncher's Point. We haven't cracked down the whole YouTube thing yet, but give us a little bit of time. We're gonna definitely crack it down. We're definitely gonna get everything situated. This new season is definitely an adjusting process for both me and Breezy. But you know what? There's a good saying that champions can adapt to anything, and that's what we're gonna do. So, with that being said, I'm gonna say it right now. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.